Hey, this is Nicolosi, and in this video I'm excited to demonstrate a great new feature introduced in Mela 7.3, which dramatically improves workflow. Okay, I'm running Logic on my Mac with the Mela inserted as an instrument, as well as MIDI processor and an audio effect. And I have this chord progression driving these plugins, and this is what it sounds like. Okay, I have this very fast arpeggiator in our MIDI processor, and I want to modulate its octave range with this velocity modulator, but I can't do it because it's in a different instance of Mela. What I can now do is that I can drag this arpeggiator out and insert it in front of our MIDI processor chain here, and I can just bypass the arpeggiator. So it will sound the same because we get the MIDI in, gets processed by our arpeggiator before it's sent to MIDI to poly. And this is what it sounds like. So yeah, it sounds the same. And now we can modulate our octave range. And let's hear that. That's a pretty cool effect. So what's happening here is that the latest note that comes out of arpeggiator is driving velocity, and then it generates the modulation signal, which adjusts octave range. So it has this very interesting feedback loop, which gives us this very interesting MIDI effect. Let's collapse oscillators lane and focus on the effects. Now, I have this little modulated filter that's processing output of our instrument, but it's applied after the reverb. I want that effect to be applied before sound goes through reverb. What I'm going to do is I'm going to nest this in a group and maybe rename this to filter LFO. And I can do the same thing as before. I can just drag this group and insert it here. And you will notice that it will retain wiring. But I want to show you another way of doing this. I'm just going to undo it here. I have this preset group called components. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this filter LFO and drop it in there. And what it did is that it exported the group module with its submodules as a preset. And I can come here and open the components preset group and drag this filter out and insert it here. And we have the same thing, and we can just turn off this instance because we no longer need it, and we can listen to the result. So that was pretty cool. We were able to reuse the components of another preset, and in fact save it for future use. Another interesting thing is that we can just click on this and directly open this preset. And let's see what happens, because we used to having presets with lanes, and this one is just starts out with a filter LFO group, and that's the topmost module. So let's see. So what happened was that it inserted a lane to wrap this filter LFO group module inside it. And if we press play in Logic, we will not hear anything. And that's because it has no input and output. But obviously we can add those in and have it working again. But I wanted to show you that even though we exported part of a preset, it's still a proper preset. It can be opened and you can build on top of it. So let's bypass this, and we can bypass this other one. We don't need it. This brings me to another point. If you read Mela's user guide or watched my previous videos, you will know that each Mela preset consists of a root level stack module. Submodules of the stack modules are group modules, which are displayed as lanes. Okay, why am I telling you this? Because what we can do is that if we initialize this preset to nothing, let's open leads. At first, let's open this preset. Okay, so this is a normal preset with 3 lanes, and we have remote controls. And this is what it sounds like. Okay, so I'm gonna initialize this preset again. And what I'll do then is that I'll drag this here. What happened was that we were able to import entire preset as a module. So this module is our stack module. It's in isolate mode because root stack modules are in isolate mode. They don't have inputs and outputs. And we can look at each of our lanes. Again, these are groups with, again, they're in isolate mode because they don't have inputs or outputs. And if I play this, it will sound the same. So what happened was when we imported it, it also inserted this lane to wrap it inside it. And we can even drag another one in. We can put another lane or we can put it next to it. And these remote controls, they're when you load it as a preset, they appear at the top, but we still have access to these remote controls here. So we can even adjust them as we play. What you can do is, like, maybe you're working on a preset and you want to drag in another one and reuse some of its parts. You can easily do that. So for example, maybe I'm interested in some of these lanes here. I'm gonna collapse this for simplicity. And what I'll do is I'll unnest this, which means it will get rid of the, this will flatten by getting rid of the stack module. And then I can drag these lanes out and so we have our lanes from this preset, and we can manipulate it as much as we want. Again, it will sound the same because all the inputs and outputs are retained. So one thing to keep in mind when you're importing a preset by dragging and dropping, global parameters like polyphony settings are not overwritten. If you drag and drop another preset, which makes use of MIDI to poly, it will just adopt the settings of the currently opened preset. Another thing to note is that if you import multiple presets and they make use of audio and MIDI buses, they might end up interacting with each other. So be sure to rewire them if you need to. Another thing is that you can drag modules out and drop them onto your desktop, and they will get exported as a preset. So again, I'll nest this in a group. I'll drag this in. So maybe I want to have a delay with a meter. I'll rename this to simple delay. And I can export this out. And maybe I'll start a whole new preset here. And I can just import this. Now we have a simple delay here. As you can see, it got much easier to build presets in Mela by reusing parts of different presets. And if you want to learn more about it, check out the user guide or select help in the preset selector and check out the reusing presets as modules section. Okay, that's all for now. Like and share if you found this useful. For questions or feedback, leave a comment below. See you next time.